Good morning, grade 5. Welcome to the English class. Have you heard about Birbal? Birbal was the advisor and the main commander of army in the court of the Mughal Emperor Akbar. Akbar had 9 very brave and wise men in his court whom he admired a lot, and he used to call them his 9 gems or Navaratnas. And Birbal was one among the Navaratnas. And you can see a picture of Birbal here. And Birbal is mostly known for the folk tales about his wit and great sense of humor. Today, we are going to learn a chapter. It's called Birbal's Wit. It is a play based on 2 Birbal Akbar stories. So, among the 2 stories, in the first story, Birbal cleverly convinces Emperor Akbar that there is only a fixed number of crows in the capital city. And in the second story, when Emperor Akbar played a prank on his queen, Birbal came to her rescue to get out of an embarrassing situation by giving the king a fitting reply. So today, let's learn the lesson Birbal's Wit, and it is a play. All of you please take your English reader and turn to page number 114. So I hope you got the page, and you see there is a warm-up session there. What happens when a helper is cleverer than his master? Read this picture story to find out. So you can see a picture story there. Please go through it as a warm-up activity. Please pause this video, finish going through the warm-up session and come back. Hope you are done with that activity. I hope it was interesting. Now let's read the play. And when you write a play, you have to mention the characters and the scene or the setting of the story. Now the characters are given here. They are listed as Emperor Akbar, Birbal, Raja Man Singh, the Queen and other ministers. Now Raja Man Singh was a trusted general among the Navratnas. So the scene 1, the palace gardens. So the setting or where the story is happening is the palace gardens. Akbar and some of his courtiers are looking at the roses. So the Emperor Akbar and his courtiers. Courtiers means the ministers of the royal court. So Emperor Akbar and his ministers are in the palace gardens and they are looking at the roses. Now the emperor says, "Where's Birbal? I have not seen him since this morning." It seems that Birbal is not in the palace that morning. So Akbar was inquiring about him. And the first minister replies, "We have not seen him either, Badshah. A messenger said he had gone out very busy counting crows," and he smiles. So what did the first minister reply to the king? He said that we have not seen him either, Badshah. Badshah is an Urdu word for king, and it's a way of addressing the king. So the first minister addresses the king as Badshah and says that a messenger had informed that Birbal had gone out to count crows. And then what did the emperor reply? Then with a smiling face, the emperor says, "Well, so he has taken the challenge seriously. Do none of you wish to compete for the prize?" So it seems that the king had given a challenge to the ministers. And what was the challenge? The challenge was to count the crows in the city. And it seems that Birbal has taken up that challenge and had gone out to count the crows indeed. And the king was asking the other ministers whether they have not taken up the challenge of counting the crows. And he was asking them whether the prize that he offered for winning the challenge was not enough for them, whether they felt it that way. And what did the second minister reply then? Let's see. The second minister replied, "We are beaten, my lord. You have set an impossible task. We tried and gave up." So the second minister says, they have already taken up that challenge. They have given a try on that challenge and they felt it is an impossible task to count the crows in the city. So they have given up the challenge. That's what the second minister replied. Now let's see what happened next. Raja Man Singh says, "Did you really expect an answer, Your Highness, or it was a joke?" So Raja Man Singh is asking Akbar, when the king gave such a challenge, whether he really meant them to count the crows and give him an answer, or it was just a joke. And what did the king reply? The Emperor Akbar replied, "Man Singh, wait and watch. The deadline is 7 o'clock. There is at least an hour left. 3,000 gold coins and a bag of precious jewels are not to be sneezed at. I'm sure thousands of people in the capital are out counting the crows, trying to hide his laughter. So Raja Mansingh was asking the king whether it was a serious challenge or was it just a joke. And then the emperor replied, it is indeed a serious challenge, and the deadline for completing the challenge was 7 o'clock. And what about the prize to win the challenge? The prize was huge, 3,000 gold coins and a bag of precious jewels. And the king says that he was sure that no one is going to waste away such a huge prize. So he was sure that a lot of people might be out there counting the crows in the city. So it was around 6 o'clock in the evening, because it says there is at least an hour left for the deadline. So an hour later, so it's almost 7 o'clock. By 7 o'clock, King Akbar re-entering the garden. So he goes back from the palace to the garden, the palace garden, and Akbar says, it's time. So it was an hour later, so it must be 7 o'clock, and King Akbar re-enters his garden and he says, it's time. How many want to win the prize? Open the gates and let's see how many have their answers ready. So it was the deadline, it was 7 o'clock, and King Akbar ordered his men to open the gates to let in people who have come up with answers to the number of crows in the city. So the first minister replies, there is nobody outside the gates, my lord. And the first minister informs King Akbar that he doesn't see anyone outside the gate waiting with their answers. And the King Akbar got surprised. He says, nobody, not a single person has taken up the challenge. I'm disappointed. And he says that it's unbelievable that no one has come up with any answers, and he feels disappointed. Then second minister replies, oh, who is this hurrying through the gates? Why, it's Birbal. So the second minister sees someone is coming through the gates and he sees it's Birbal. Then Emperor Akbar says, ha ha ha, welcome Birbal. I guess you too have no answer. Was the prize too small to tempt you? Since no one else have come with their answers, King Akbar was asking Birbal that whether he has an answer or not. So he guessed Birbal also doesn't have an answer with him, and the king was asking Birbal whether the prize, the reward for the challenge was not enough to tempt him to take up the challenge. But then what Birbal replied? My lord, a challenge is a challenge. The amount of the prize does not matter, and I have the exact answer. And then to the emperor's surprise, Birbal replies that it's not about the reward, but a challenge is a challenge. He has already taken up that challenge and he has the answer for the question that he gave him. So at 6 o'clock today, there were exactly 21,412 crows in the capital with a flourish. So Birbal says, and I have the exact answer. At 6 o'clock today, there were exactly 21,412 crows in the capital with a flourish. He said that with a flourish means he said that with great enthusiasm or with great energy. Birbal replied that he in fact had taken up the challenge. He counted the crows in the city, and at 6 o'clock, when he did the last count at 6 o'clock, there were exactly 21,412 crows in the capital city. And hearing this, Akbar, stunned and not really believing him, shall we check? So King Akbar was astonished or shocked to hear Birbal's reply. So he asked him, shall we check whether it is needed to check the number of crows? Then Birbal said, certainly, my lord, pretending to be very serious. Of course, some crows may have left the city to visit their relatives in another town, but then it is also likely some others may have flown in for the weekend. I am absolutely certain, however, that at the last count at 6 o'clock, there were exactly 21,412 crows in the capital. So King Akbar was stunned to hear Birbal's reply that there were exactly 21,412 crows in the capital. So he asked Birbal whether it is needed to recheck it, to which Birbal replied, yes, of course, certainly the king can recheck. There might have been more crows in the city, but some crows, when he did the last count at 6 o'clock, some crows might have gone to their relatives living in another town, or some crows might have gone for a weekend. But at 6 o'clock, when he did the last counting, there were exactly 21,412 crores in the capital. And King Akbar, hearing this hilarious reply from Birbal, was laughing so hard and said, Birbal, you are the life of this court. Bring the prize. So King Akbar liked the hilarious reply from Birbal, and he declared that Birbal won the challenge and ordered his men to bring the prize, which was 3,000 gold coins and a bag of precious jewels. So Birbal won that challenge. So children, I hope that was an interesting story. So that was one story. Now let's read one more story. So this is scene 2. The setting is, or the place where this is happening is, a room in the palace. So this is a few days later. Akbar and the queen are eating mangoes. Birbal, 2 other ministers and 3 or 4 servants are also in the room. Birbal is sitting closest to Akbar. So in the next page, page number 117, we can see the scene there. You can see the king Akbar and his queen, and Birbal is sitting very close to the king, and 3 or 4 other servants and the 2 other ministers are also standing there. And it seems that the king and the queen are eating mangoes. And the king, the Emperor Akbar, says to Birbal, Birbal, will you not join us? The mangoes are really sweet. So these mangoes were specially sent from Lucknow for the king. So King Akbar is offering these mangoes to Birbal. To which Birbal replies, My lord, they are from Lucknow, especially sent for you. I find pleasure in seeing you enjoy them. So did Birbal accept the offer? No, he politely refused the king's offer to have the mangoes. He politely refused the offer by saying that it's great pleasure for him to see the king enjoying the mangoes. So the king says, as usual, you know how to turn a refusal into a compliment. A compliment means an expression of praise. So even if he politely refused the offer, even if Birbal politely refused the offer, the king felt it as a compliment. He refused it that way. Playfully, Akbar scrapes all the mango peels and seeds from his plate onto the queen's while she is in looking. So what happened? When the queen was not looking into her plate, King Akbar, the Emperor Akbar, playfully put all the mango peels and the seeds onto her plate. But she did not notice this. She was looking somewhere else. And then the emperor says, Begum is a word used to address the queen. Begum, it seems that you were starving for mangoes, pointing to her plate. Looks like you have eaten quite a few. What do you say, Birbal? So he has placed all these mango peels and seeds in her plate while she wasn't looking, and he was just making fun of her that it seems that she had eaten quite a few mangoes because she liked them so much. And he also joined Birbal in this funny incident. And then the queen, startled at seeing the plate heaped with mango peels and seeds, said, Oh. The queen was surprised. She was startled or shocked to see all these mango peels and seeds in her plate. She did not know where this come from. She did not know what happened. So she was startled. She was surprised. And Birbal said, Badshah, I think it was you who was starving for mangoes, while the Begum Sahiba enjoyed the pulp and the juice, so you have swallowed the peels and the seeds as well. So what happened? Birbal was pointing out to the king that the king liked the mangoes so much. So since he does not have any mango peels or seeds in his plate, it seems that he might have eaten the whole mangoes with the peels and the seeds. So he was just making fun. Birbal was just making fun of the king. He was trying to get the queen out of an embarrassing situation because the queen was feeling embarrassed about this incident. So Birbal sportingly says, while the Begum Sahiba enjoyed the pulp and the juice, sir, which means the king, you have swallowed the peels and the seeds as well. Then what did Akbar say? Akbar, laughing at Birbal's clever answers as usual, for your wit, Birbal, I will send you a basket full of Lucknowi mangoes. So the king sportingly acknowledges Birbal's superior wit. And he says, for your wit, for Birbal's wit, he is going to send him a basket full of Lucknowi mangoes to enjoy. And Birbal bows in gratitude. So I hope this was an interesting story as well. Children, you can go through this play once again, and as an activity for the day, I suggest you can read more about the Mughal Emperor Akbar, Birbal and the Navaratnas in the court of Akbar. So this might be very interesting for you. So that's all for today. We'll meet in the next class. Till then, bye.